Okay, so let's think about the heart for a second. We know it's all about our emotions, right? But what if it's more than that? What if it's like a sanctuary, a really sacred space with a single throne right in the middle, meant for just one occupant? In this explainer, we're going to dig in and figure out who, or maybe what, is actually sitting on that throne.
I mean, have you ever felt this way? Your faith, it feels kind of lukewarm, or maybe even like a chore, just another thing on your to-do list. You want that deep, powerful connection, but it's just not there. So what's going on? Why is there this huge gap between the kind of faith we read about and the one we're actually living?
This quote just hits it right on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly shows that gap. I mean, you read these incredible stories about the early companions, people who literally sacrificed their lives. And then you've got us, hitting the snooze button and debating whether we can sacrifice 10 more minutes of sleep. Look, this isn't about making anyone feel guilty. It's about figuring out what's really going on here, diagnosing a massive shift in what we prioritize spiritually.
All right, let's dive right in. Section 1. We're going to get to the bottom of this lukewarm faith problem. Where does it actually come from? What's the core issue that's leaving us feeling so unsatisfied?
Okay, so here's the absolute heart of the issue. Our hearts, they were literally created to love something infinite. They've got this boundless capacity for awe and connection, a space that was custom-made for God. But what do? We spend our entire lives trying to cram finite things into that infinite space. Things like our career, a relationship, money, a reputation, you name it. It's like trying to fill the Grand Canyon with a shovel. It's never going to work. And that's why we're left feeling so empty.
So if we're filling our hearts with the wrong stuff, what exactly is that stuff? That brings us to section 2, where we're going to learn how to spot these modern-day idols that have set up camp in our hearts. And just to be clear, we're definitely not talking about little golden statues here.
An idol, or put as it's called in the source text, is really anything that gets into that inner sanctuary of your heart and starts calling the shots on your emotions. Think about it. It's that one thing that makes you feel on top of the world when you have it and completely crushed when you don't. It could be anything. Your follower count, how you look in the mirror, what your boss thinks of you. It's whatever sneaks past security and plops itself down on the throne.
And that leads us to this idea of a Rab, which means Lord. See, your true Lord isn't just who you say you worship on the outside. It's whatever has the real power to direct your emotional highs and lows. If a dip in the stock market can completely wreck your day, then guess what? The market is acting as your Lord. If a single comment from someone can send you into a tailspin for hours, that person has lordship over your heart.
So, how do you find these idols? It's actually pretty simple. You just have to watch your own reactions. Seriously. What makes you ecstatic? What absolutely devastates you? Those big, intense emotional swings? They're like a giant spotlight. They show you exactly what you've put on the throne inside that sacred sanctuary. It's like doing an audit of your emotions to see where your loyalty really lies.
But how do they even get in there in the first place? Well, this quote is so powerful. It says that murderous greed. And that's just a way of saying a really, really intense, desperate desire for something in this world. It acts like a battering ram. It literally pierces the defenses of your heart and creates a wide-open door for these idols to just flood in and take control.
Okay, so this whole situation leads us to a really common but pretty major mistake we make in our faith. And it's a mistake that keeps these idols glued to the throne. Let's get into section 3, where we'll look at how we get our job confused with God's job, and how that ends with us trying to test God himself.
So to really get this, you have to understand that there are two totally separate jobs here. There's our duty, which is called ubudiyat. That's everything to do with our effort, our actions, our hustle. It's planting the seed, it's studying for the test, it's putting in the work. Then there's God's duty, uluhiyat, and that's the result, the final outcome. Whether the seed actually sprouts, whether you ace the exam, whether the project is a success. See the difference? We do the work. He's in charge of the results.
And this story, wow, it just captures this mistake perfectly. So Satan comes to Jesus and basically says, hey, if God's really got your back, prove it, jump, test him, force his hand. But Jesus' response is just so profound. He lays it all out. He says, look, God might test his servant, but a servant has no right to test his God. It puts everything in its proper place, right? God can test us to make us stronger, but us, we're in no position to be testing the one in charge.
And you might be sitting there thinking, well, I would never do that. But do we? I think we do it all the time, just in sneakier ways. So, how does this ancient temptation pop up in our 21st century lives?
It's when we start bargaining. our faith suddenly has all these conditions attached. It's like we're saying, okay, God, here's the deal. You fix my problems, give me the promotion, make this happen, then, and only then, will I become a better person. We're basically demanding the outcome before we've even done our part. That is, for all intents and purposes, testing God. So, if that's the wrong way, what's the right way? How do we break out of this cycle? Well, let's turn to section 4 and look at an amazing story of a legendary warrior. Because his whole mindset, it holds the key to real spiritual strength and, honestly, a lot of peace.
This guy's name is Saladin Harsamshah, and he was a real historical figure who went up against one of the scariest armies ever. We're talking about the Mongol hordes led by Genghis Khan. And he didn't just fight them, he beat them, over and over again when no one thought it was possible. But his secret weapon wasn't just his army, it was his spirit.
And this, right here, this was his whole philosophy. The story goes that right before a huge battle, his commanders were all trying to hype him up, saying, "You're going to win, victory is yours." But he stopped them. He corrected them with this quote. He just got it. He understood those two duties perfectly. His job, to fight his heart out. The result, victory or defeat, that wasn't his business. That was God's business.
And that's the secret sauce right there. That's the key. Because he focused only on his job, the effort, and completely let go of the result, he was free. He didn't have that crushing anxiety about what would happen. And that submission, that trust, it gave him unbelievable focus and courage. And you know what happened? Because he nailed his part and trusted God with his, victory was the result.
All right, let's wrap this all up and bring it home. We've figured out the problem, we've learned how to spot the idols, and we've seen the solution in action. So now for the big question. How do we actually do it? How do we take back our heart sanctuary and get the rightful ruler back on that throne?
The real endgame here, the ultimate purpose, is something called a marifatullah. And this isn't just about going through the motions of worship. It's about getting to truly know God, like a deep personal knowledge. It's about starting to see his names and attributes, his incredible wisdom, his power, his mercy, and everything around you. That is the infinite quest that our hearts were actually made for. So here's the game plan, the path to getting your heart back. Number 1, know the difference between your job and God's job. Number 2, pour all your energy into the effort and let go of the outcome. Number 3, do that emotional audit we talked about. Find those idols and clear them out. And finally, number 4, make your life's ultimate goal about knowing God, not just getting more stuff.
And so that leaves us with one last, really important question we have to ask ourselves. Right now, take a look inside that sanctuary of your heart. Be honest. Who or what is really sitting on the throne? And what is the very first idol you need to kick out so the rightful king can finally take his seat?